The moment I became Ethan, the illegitimate son of the Johnson family, I was being pinned down in a private room at the club by my girlfriend Olivia's henchman. Kneel and apologize to Leo. Her crimson fingernail jabbed at my forehead. You can afford to ruin his suit? The original owner had poured his heart and soul into being good to his wealthy girlfriend, but he wasn't appreciated. For years, Olivia was bullied time and again over a few careless words spoken by others to the original owner, leaving the original owner battered and bruised, disheartened and gone. Only then did Olivia realize her mistake and her love, and she began a desperate campaign to win her husband back. But I'm not the same Ethan as before. I broke free from the restraint and grabbed Olivia's wrist with my other hand. I squeezed until her bones cracked, sneering coldly. Apologize? Staring at the woman's face, which suddenly drained of color and showed pain, my smile deepened. If your dog wants to kneel, I won't stop it. But I, Ethan, will kneel to heaven and earth, but not to trash. The air in the private room of the club froze instantly. Olivia's face turned deathly pale from the pain, cold sweat trickling down from her temples as she struggled and cried out. Ethan, who gave you the nerve to treat me like this? Let go of me. Leo, sitting like a lord on the sofa, waiting for me to apologize, rushed over. He looked at me, then at Olivia. Ethan, are you insane? This is Olivia. How dare you lay a hand on her? There are two reasons Leo spoke like that. First, Olivia is the heiress of the Sullivan family. Two, for many years, the original owner wouldn't dare so much as crush Olivia's bones. Meek and self-abasing, he didn't even dare utter a harsh word. Every time Olivia screamed or laid hands on him, the ingrained submissiveness made the original owner instinctively shrink back. Sometimes when it clearly wasn't his fault, he was forced into apologizing instead. Thinking of this, I felt exceptionally agitated. Not only did I not let go, I tightened my grip. Olivia's scream shot up an octave, her wrist bending in a visibly painful arc. Afraid of what? I snorted, my eyes sweeping over Olivia's contorted face. Now, do I still need to kneel? Olivia was in too much pain to speak. A pale forehead beaded with sweat the size of soybeans, the eyes instantly reddening. Whether from anger or pain, no one could tell. Seeing this, the others looked at one another, each seeing horror reflected in the other's eyes. After a long while, I let go of her hand. Unsteady, Olivia slumped into Leo's arms. I strode toward the private room door without looking at any of them. Olivia's weak but still commanding tone came from behind. Ethan, how dare you leave? If you walk out that door today, don't ever think about setting foot in the Sullivan house again. My hand trembled uncontrollably. It was the remnants of the original owner's consciousness. Afraid of this person even after death, truly pitiful. I turned around. A flash of triumph crossed Olivia's eyes. Come here. Like calling a dog. Those words displeased Leo. He deliberately hugged Olivia tightly in front of me. Olivia, he treated you like this. Why do you? His words were cut off. Today is his birthday. Oh, right. Today is the original owner's 23rd birthday. He never expected anything grand. He just wanted to quietly spend time with the woman he loved. But he was disappointed once again. His girlfriend, in the name of throwing him a birthday party, introduced her friends to him. But the club, his girlfriend's friends, treated him like air, and Leo's bootlickers sneered and mocked him. Someone shoved him from behind. The red wine in his hand accidentally splashed onto Leo's suit. Olivia's face changed instantly. Leo pretended to let it go, but his lackey went on about how this suit was a custom Italian piece. The Johnson family is powerful and wealthy, but Ethan is just an unloved, illegitimate son. Having graduated less than a year ago, he couldn't scrape together $200 in his account. I walked step by step towards Olivia. Leo made no attempt to hide the hatred in his eyes. His sycophants and Olivia's friends all wore expressions of, so that's how it is. There was no more fear. Faces shifted back to looks of pride, contempt, and mockery. Olivia, confident of victory, spoke to herself. You're behaving lawlessly because I spoil you. It's just kneeling to apologize. Don't you often kneel at the Johnsons too? Leo's suit is so expensive. You couldn't possibly afford to pay for it. I casually picked up the glass of wine on the table and poured it out with a flick of my hand. The whole room fell silent. You could hear a pin drop. Olivia, still not having reacted, blinked, then pointed a trembling finger at me. Ethan, you did well. I lifted the second glass and, without hesitation and expressionless, poured it into Leo's wide-open eyes. The snow-white suit was instantly soaked in a large patch of yellow liquor. The first one doesn't count. Someone pushed me. This one I threw. I continued, go ask the Johnson family for compensation. Whatever they give you is yours. If they give nothing, it's because you're incapable. After speaking, I slammed the door and left, shutting out the chaos in the private room and Olivia's screams behind me. Once I left the club, the evening breeze hit me and the original owner's weak body could barely hold up. My chest felt tight. I lowered my head and couldn't help coughing a few times. I flagged down a taxi, gave a driver the address of the original owner's rented room. The first floor of the old building was dark and damp. As soon as the door opened, a musty smell hit you. The apartment was full of traces of Olivia, used hair ties, a cartoon pillow, and a whole wall of photos. In the pictures, the original owner smiled timidly, while Olivia looked completely annoyed. I frowned, packed up everything related to Olivia, and threw it into the trash bin, moving with brisk, decisive motions. Then I took out the original owner's phone and blocked all contact info for Olivia and Leo, including the fake account Olivia used to test the original owner. After finishing that, I packed the original owner's ID documents, a small amount of cash, and a few changes of clothes into my backpack. This city, Olivia, Leo, and that Johnson family who don't treat the original owner like a person. There's nothing here worth staying for. I'm leaving. Anywhere is fine, as long as I can get away from this garbage. The moment I locked the door, I seemed to hear the original owner's relieved sigh. The bus leaving the city rocked and swayed, and the scenery outside the window gradually grew desolate. The original owner's health was truly poor. Long-term malnutrition combined with depression left them dizzy after sitting for just 2 hours. We hadn't checked the weather before departure, and halfway through a sudden torrential downpour began. Pea-sized raindrops pelted the car window, pitter-pattering, and the temperature inside the vehicle dropped. I coughed and wrapped the thin jacket tighter around me, but I still felt cold. In the original's memories, he had earned some money at work, but never bought himself a thick coat, always spending it on gifts for Olivia. The coach stopped at a midway station, and I got off to buy a bottle of water. I had only gone a short distance when a violent dizziness hit me. Everything went black, and I toppled straight down. In the haze of consciousness, I thought I heard a very soft voice, like spring rain falling on bluestone, gentle and clean. Are you okay? I forced my eyes open. Through the curtain of rain, I saw a woman holding an umbrella squatting in front of me. She wore a plain cotton linen dress, her hair simply pinned at the back of her head, revealing a smooth forehead. Eyes gentle, gaze calm. It is Sophia Taylor, the original novel's second female lead. She comes from a background much like Olivia's, couldn't stand Olivia, Leo, and the others bullying the original protagonist, and helped the protagonist several times. She was also one of the catalysts for the deterioration of the relationship between the original protagonist and Olivia. The original owner, out of a strict adherence to male propriety, had nothing going on with Sophia, but he couldn't withstand Olivia's suspicions and Leo's egging him on. Many times, not wanting the misunderstanding to deepen, he refused Sophia's help and single-handedly bore the malice coming at him from all directions. Leo, Olivia, the Johnson family, and the company. In the end, severely depressed, he swallowed a whole bottle of sleeping pills he'd saved up over a year. You have a fever. You can't stand out in the rain. Sophia tentatively asked, should I take you to the hospital? My throat was so dry I couldn't make a sound. I shook my head helplessly. It wasn't just that I had no money on me, but I also hated hospitals. Sophia understood and didn't force me further. I thought for a moment and said, "My studio is nearby. There should still be some fever medicine there." This time, I didn't refuse. She helped me to my feet, not with much force, but with a steady hand. The umbrella was tilted toward me the whole time, and her shoulder on that side was soaked by the rain. The fabric clung to her body, outlining delicate lines, but she was completely unaware. Upon arrival, there was an osmanthus tree planted in the courtyard. A faint scent of osmanthus was carried by the wind. The studio was very quiet, filled with the smell of ink and paper. The bookshelf against the wall was filled with ancient books and restoration tools. Sophia found me a clean set of cotton shirt and trousers. "Go to the guest room and change first. I'll get you some fever medicine." With that, she turned and walked into another room. I sat on the bed in the guest room, looking at the loose shirt on my body. The delicate scent of soapberry drifted in my nostrils, the same as the smell on Sophia. This was the first time in both my lives that I felt such pure gentleness. Before transmigrating into the book, I was a rat in the gutter, constantly turning my eyes to guard against schemes, betrayals, and killings from all around. After taking the medicine, lying in bed and listening to the faint sound from outside, my taut nerves gradually relaxed. Without realizing it, I had fallen asleep. This sleep was deep. No nightmares, no chasing, only endless peace. When I woke, the rain had stopped and the sky was dimly lit. I got up and left the guest room, smelling the scent of congee. In the living room, Sophia was sitting at the desk repairing an ancient book. She wore white gloves, holding a tiny restoration tool between her fingertips, moving gently, her expression focused. She didn't notice me approaching at all. In the light, the lines of her profile were soft, her eyelashes long and slightly drooping, fluttering like butterfly wings as she moved. I stood where I was, saying nothing, afraid of disturbing her. After a long while, Sophia looked up, saw me, and a hint of surprise flashed in her eyes. She then showed a gentle smile. "You're awake? How do you feel?" "A lot better, thank you." My voice was still a bit hoarse. "The porridge is warming on the stove. I'll ladle a bowl for you." She stood and walked toward the kitchen. Sitting at the dining table, watching her busy figure, an inexplicable feeling welled up inside me. It was strange, something I had never felt in 2 lifetimes. Sophia brought over a bowl of millet porridge with a small dish of pickles. "There's nothing special, just have something to fill your stomach first." The porridge was cooked to a soft, mushy consistency, melting in the mouth. I ate very slowly, as if cherishing this rare warmth. "Why did you collapse by the roadside?" she asked softly. After a long pause with no answer, she hurriedly added, "If you don't want to say, you don't have to." I thought for a moment, hid the fact that I had transmigrated into a book, and only said, "I had a falling out with my family and wanted to leave for a while. I didn't expect my body to betray me." Sophia didn't ask further. She just nodded. "If you don't have anywhere to go for the time being, you can stay at my place. The room is the same one you slept in last night. If you feel awkward, you can help me out a bit. Consider it your rent." Perfect timing. My assistant is off for a couple of days, and I'm a little overwhelmed on my own. I was stunned. In that moment, I forgot that I was the illegitimate son of the Johnson family. I only thought of myself as Ethan, still living in the shadows. Outsiders call me Ethan. It's not that I'm the 6th among my brothers. It's that I'm ruthless and as venomous as a snake. Over time, I earned that nickname. In the cramped world of Port City, no one isn't afraid of me. Who would take Ethan in? Who would dare take Ethan in? Why help me? I couldn't help asking. Sophia smiled, her gaze clear. "It's just a small favor. In your situation, anyone with a bit of conscience wouldn't stand by and do nothing." Oh, in her eyes, I was the pitiable, illegitimate son of the Johnson family, Ethan. For the next few days, I stayed in Sophia's studio. I helped her clean the courtyard, organize the old books, cook, and do the laundry, taking on all the chores I could. At first, Sophia was polite about it, but when she saw I was persistent, she stopped refusing. I also enjoyed that kind of life, simple and peaceful. No sudden betrayals. No Olivia's arrogant indifference. When Sophia was repairing the ancient book, I sat beside her as an assistant, waiting for her orders. Coming back to myself, I realized I had been staring at her for a long time. I suddenly stood up, all flustered. I'll go make tea. Sophia looked up in confusion. Didn't you just make a cup? Steam rose from the teacup on the table. Even 2 meters away, it felt as if the heat had scalded me, the redness in my ears quickly spreading up to my neck. Olivia only truly realized the seriousness of the situation in the second week after Ethan left. On the day Ethan left, she came to the hospital accompanied by Leo. Anger filled her heart. She swore that when Ethan returned, she would make him pay. She would never forgive him for just kneeling. Didn't he suspect she had been with Leo? Then she would cement that baseless accusation. She would get close to Leo right in front of him. She imagined the scene. She and Leo sat head-to-head on the sofa. Ethan, who had gone out to buy groceries, came back and went pale in an instant, the vegetables in his hands falling to the floor. She ignored him, directed the other person to cook, and asked Leo in front of him what dishes he liked. She believed that as soon as Leo left, Ethan would surely clench his fists and, eyes bloodshot, demand an explanation from her. But he didn't dare raise his voice at her. He could only suppress himself until his shoulders trembled and his voice was hoarse. Thinking this, Olivia felt much better, and the wrist wrapped in gauze didn't hurt so much anymore. At that moment, Leo pushed open the ward door and came in. "Olivia, I had Nurse Wu make you chicken soup and your favorite furron pastry." Olivia's expression was complicated. She knew Leo liked her, but she already had Ethan. "Okay, thank Auntie Wu for me." The chicken soup was drunk, the lotus seed pastry eaten. The next day, Olivia was discharged from the hospital. Back home, she habitually called out Ethan, but got no response. Most likely he'd gone back to that shabby little rental again. It was always the same. Whenever something upset him, he'd run back to that under 20 square meter, dirty, stinky rental. This really annoyed Olivia. Once was playful interest, twice, thrice. That's just ungratefulness. She had been too indulgent with him. Fine, this time she'd certainly try to wear him down. Hands mostly done, Olivia went out to play with friends. When they encountered Leo, he asked to join, and before she could speak, her friends made a scene. Olivia shook her head. This won't happen again. She'd been poured quite a lot of alcohol. Covering her head as she came to, Leo's voice made her jolt awake. "Good morning, Olivia." Olivia turned her head and stared at the person in the bed, speaking in disbelief. "Leo?" Leo propped his head up and lifted a smile. "What's the matter? Don't recognize me after just one night?" Calming down, Olivia said, "You drank too much last night. Don't make a big deal of it. We'll still be friends from now on." Leo disagreed. "You would sleep with a friend?" Olivia lost her patience. "What do you want me to do? I already have Ethan." Leo's eyes narrowed slightly. "Break up with him. Impossible." Leaving that sentence behind, Olivia dressed and went home. She would keep this matter rotten in her belly forever, not letting a third person know. A strange feeling coursed through her, and Olivia pulled out her phone and tapped at it. "Ethan, hurry up and get your ass back here," then deleted it. "Ethan, it's been a week. You should be back by now." She deleted it again. She thought for 2 seconds. "Ethan, I'm not going to pursue what happened before. I'll pay for Leo's suit. Just don't be so handsy anymore. You know how hard it's been for us to get to where we are. As a recognized, illegitimate son, you can't be presented publicly. My family intends to arrange a marriage with the Lewis family. So I had no choice but to get closer to Leo, but there has never been anything between us. Stop being so suspicious. You come back, I'll take you to apologize to Leo, and this matter will be put to rest. For now on, I'll keep him away from you more often. Is that okay? Are you satisfied now?" As she clicked send, Olivia thought to herself that this time, by humbling herself first, Ethan would surely be so moved he'd crawl back to her feet in tears. After a long time, she looked down at the other's reply, but was stabbed in the eyes by a bright red exclamation mark. Olivia snapped to her feet from the sofa, so angry she could explode. Ethan blocked her? Ethan actually dared to block her? The spacious villa echoed with a woman's roar. Ethan. Olivia drove to the old residential complex that had been marked with the character for demolish. She used the key in her hand to open the front door. She discovered that everything that belonged to her inside was gone, including the unbearably dear photos with Ethan. A panic she had never felt before washed over Olivia. Ethan put them away. She muttered to herself, gradually calming. As more words escaped her, her face regained its old arrogance. Yes, it must be like that. He loves me so much. How could he bear to throw away our photos? Her stooped back straightened, Olivia's gaze turning slightly cold as she pulled her phone from her bag. Find out where Ethan went. Give me the information within 2 hours. Sophia's friend sent her a box of green tangerines, large and thin-skinned. The other party smiled faintly and said, "It was the same last year. I just forget to eat when I'm busy, and after a month when I check, they've gone bad." I picked a large one, peeling it as I said casually, "With me here, you'll finish them this year." "Good," Sophia said with a smile. After removing all the white pith, I brought a segment of the orange to her lips. Sophia's eyes showed surprise. She was avoiding her yesterday, so what was this today? She hurriedly took off the gloves, but heard the other person say, "When Lily is around, aren't these all supposed to be done by her?" Lily, the assistant who goes home when Sophia is on leave. A few days ago, Ethan asked her for Lily's contact information. She thought it was to inquire about ancient book restoration, so she gave it. Now it seemed Ethan was asking about more than just work. Yes, but their eyes met. The other person gazed at her with innocent, unblinking puppy eyes. The words on the tip of her tongue were swallowed back. "Eating one time should be fine, right?" Sophia lowered her head and opened her mouth to take the orange being fed to her. At that moment, the locked courtyard gate was forcefully pushed open from outside. Seeing the interaction between the two, Olivia's eyes filled with rage. "Ethan!" Sophia frowned. This Olivia, as always, had no sense of boundaries. The person sitting in the chair stood up, their view blocked. Olivia's visit made me extremely displeased. My chest surged with murderous intent, frost settling over my brows and eyes. Olivia paused in surprise as she stepped closer. Just moments before, the man's face had clearly shown a relaxation and warmth she hadn't seen in a long time. But in an instant, facing her now, there was only cold indifference and undisguised loathing. Before Olivia entered the living room, I strode out. His hand like an eagle's claw grabbed the clueless woman's shoulder and dragged her out. Pain made Olivia furious, and she screamed, "Ethan, let go of me." I said let go. He didn't release her, and Olivia gave up and let things go. I said you were being so defiant this time. Turns out you got involved with someone named Taylor. A dead fish woman like her can satisfy you up. Closing the courtyard gate, I flung the noisy woman to the ground. Olivia staggered and was caught by the bodyguard who had brought her. Her shoulder hurt, her wrist hurt. Olivia covered one side with a hand and couldn't cover the other. She gnawed her teeth in hatred. Ethan never dared treat her like this before. Sophia, it must be Sophia. Looking up, Olivia was left only with towering rage and hatred. When did you two start seeing each other? Last month? Or at my grandmother's birthday last year? Last year was old Mrs. Sullivan's 80th birthday. People from all walks of River City came to offer their congratulations. Sophia attended on behalf of the Taylor family. The more Olivia thought about it, the more she felt her suspicions were right. Last year, on her grandmother's 80th birthday, she caught the two of them huddled together whispering, and Sophia even came over and, with a pointed look, said to her, "Since you're together, at least be kind to the person." Jealousy consumed Olivia, red veins crawling across the whites of her eyes. "Bitch, haven't I treated you well enough? You're a bastard. In the Johnson family, you live worse than a dog. If it weren't for me, could you have made it this far?" At the beginning, when the original owner was taken back into the Johnson family, Olivia had been quite good to him. At that time, Mrs. Johnson disliked him, and his nominal father was absent more often than not. Evan, the original owner's half-brother by the same father, went out of his way to bully him, and the servants changed with the wind, stealing his belongings and skimping his food. Ethan really lived worse than the dog Evan kept. Olivia's appearance was like a light that illuminated the childhood Ethan. He naturally fell in love with Olivia, who had rescued him from the mire. But after getting out of the mud, Olivia complained that he was covered in dirt. Snapping back to my thoughts, I sneered, "Thanks to you, I've seen the most shameless woman in the world. Keeping one at home and courting another outside. Olivia, aren't you thrilled?" I closed in on her. At such close range, I naturally didn't miss the flash of guilt in the woman's eyes. It seems Leo got his way. As Olivia's other childhood friend and the legitimate son of his family, Leo had no romantic interest in Olivia at first. But when the original owner was with Olivia, the rich young master's cruelty became apparent. He still didn't really like Olivia. He was merely enjoying the pleasure of stealing a girlfriend who was cherished like a treasure by a mistress's struggling, illegitimate child. In the original book, after Leo slept with Olivia, he bragged to the original owner. His beloved was used as a topic of conversation, and the original owner literally vomited blood. Because of this, his vitality was greatly reduced. He spent the few days he had left like a walking corpse. Olivia flushed at the blunt words. She raised her other intact arm. Her index finger trembled as she pointed at me. "Why you? Who are you?" I stepped back, putting distance between myself and the nauseating woman. "I'm Ethan." Olivia shook her head. "No, you're not Ethan. Ethan would never say something like that to me. So annoying." My eyebrows twisted into a knot as I stared at the woman's opening and closing mouth, my fingertips rubbing together. Should I slash her face or sew her mouth shut with a needle? I put my hand into my pocket. This is Ethan's favorite thing to do. Ethan's pockets always contain things you'd never expect. I felt a bamboo slip. It was something I had picked out from the trash Sophia had asked me to deal with. Out of habit, I slipped it into my pocket. With the bamboo slip in hand, my tones softened like a harmless little lamb. "Olivia, why am I not Ethan?" "I am Ethan. I've been waiting for you all these days, always." Olivia, shaken by the emotional turmoil, blinked. The handsome man bowed his head slightly and gently stepped toward her, just like countless times before. Even if she said the most hurtful things or murmured drunkenly, "Ethan, I miss you so much," he would still rush to her side without hesitation. The sharp tip of the bamboo splinter suddenly pierced the woman's delicate, flower-like cheek. At that moment, the courtyard gate opened again. The familiar, gentle tone sounded in her ear. "Ethan, are you still there?" After Ethan left, Sophia had no desire to continue with her work at all. She stood up, lingered for a long time, then sat back down. They're a couple. What standing does she have to interfere? Last year at Mrs. Sullivan's birthday banquet, she accidentally saw one of Leo's people putting something into a wine glass. After that, the wine with the added substance ended up in Ethan's hands. She frowned. Leo was the same as ever, resorting to disgraceful tricks. He and Evan truly were cut from the same cloth. She walked over and warned Ethan that something had been added to his drink. She even asked if she should tell Olivia. She would testify. The other party gave a wry smile. She won't believe it. She said nothing more. In their circle, the word love was no less than a fairy tale. So much so that the love-hate entanglement between Ethan and Olivia was talked about with relish for years. Ethan didn't resemble his father at all, and even less so Mrs. Johnson. He seemed instead to resemble Catherine, the first love of the Mr. Johnson who existed only in legend. Sophia sighed. What a pity. If Catherine hadn't died, Ethan wouldn't have set foot in the Johnson family's filthy domain. She waited and waited, but the little courtyard door never opened again. Sophia couldn't sit still any longer. Has Ethan left? Besides a sense of wistfulness, she also felt a couple of indistinct, hard-to-explain pangs of frustration. After working together for so long, couldn't he at least have said goodbye? I didn't expect Sophia to come out. The tip of the bamboo sliver that I hadn't had time to had just pierced the skin on the back of my hand and into the flesh. Olivia, furious at the disturbance of her good time, stepped forward and stood between the two of them, demanding angrily, "Sophia, what are you doing out here?" "Oh, I thought Ethan left with you." Sophia glanced at me and said. I gripped the bamboo strip tighter and forced out a smile more ugly than crying. "No, if I were going to leave, I'd tell you." The flame I had just managed to smother flared up again. She's still here, and the two of them are flirting? Where was she when they weren't catching anyone? I can't bear to think about it. Just thinking about it, a little made Olivia wish she could kill the hypocritical woman in front of her. "Sophia, you still have the nerve to keep my man hidden and show your face? Has the Taylor family had a long enough peaceful life?" Sophia's eyes grew cold. "Miss Sullivan, what big words. Since when did River City become your Sullivan families?" Her brows and eyes were mocking, no longer the usual calm. "Someone as slow-witted as you, who can't grasp the subtleties. If such a person could dominate River City with one hand, then River City would be like a sandcastle built by 3-year-olds. Being insulted for her stupidity in such a roundabout way, Olivia was so furious she couldn't utter a complete sentence for a long time. She instinctively turned around, intending to seek Ethan's help. She saw her boyfriend staring obsessively at the woman standing in the gate of the courtyard. A palm strike came. Instinct etched into my bones made me clamp the enemy's hand and bend it back. "Ah!" Olivia screamed. Fractured Olivia was urgently rushed to the hospital by the bodyguards. I returned to the small courtyard. I hid in the kitchen to wash the wounds on my hands. Someone knocked on the kitchen door. "Ethan, are you okay?" "The one with the broken bone is that stupid woman Olivia. I'm perfectly fine." I pressed the kitchen paper folded into a square against the wound and opened the door to step out. I'm fine." Sophia's peripheral vision glanced back toward me. She probably sensed it. That made me nervous. After a long while, "Hungry, right? I'll make today's meal. 3 dishes and a soup." I ate until completely satisfied. The little pain in the center of my right palm had long since vanished without a trace. I wanted to wash the dishes, but the other person stood up and said, "I'll do it." She discovered it. I hesitated whether to tell the other person that I actually wasn't hurt, because I've been severely wounded 100 times over. Being pricked by a bamboo tip was nothing at all. Ethan only grew more excited, clenching the iron rod in his hand and swinging it forcefully to smash at someone's head. Coming out of the kitchen, Sophia saw someone sitting on the sofa peeling an orange, looking so earnest as if doing something very important. She stepped closer. I quickly looked up and pushed the peeled orange over. "Sweet." She pinched a segment, didn't eat it, and instead looked at me and asked, "Ethan, do you still remember we met once last year?" My heart skipped a beat. My left hand clenched the green tangerine peel. She was testing me. Suddenly, I didn't know what to do. If it were someone else, I would sneer, lift my head, insult them once, and then decide what to do. I remember. I heard myself say. In the afternoon, Sophia took me to a hospital, and I underwent a full medical examination. I don't like hospitals. When others go to the hospital to save their lives, I almost got killed in one. "What's wrong?" Sophia crouched down, her gaze fixed on the pale face of the person in the chair. The one who spent the morning wrenching Miss Sullivan's arm barehanded wilted as soon as he stepped into the hospital. After careful observation, Sophia was certain of one thing. Ethan was afraid of hospitals. What am I supposed to do? She only knew a little about medicine, and besides, she had brought him here to have his brain examined. She suspected that Ethan's body had developed a second personality. Suppressing the fear in my heart, I whispered 2 words, "It's fine." "If you don't mind," Sophia reached out a hand. "You can hold on to me. You can hold on to me." Those words lingered in my mind for the rest of my life. They were the most beautiful words I had ever heard. I grabbed Sophia's hand hard, very hard, but she only frowned and said nothing. I tightened my grip. Leo and Olivia are no good, and neither have I ever been. The whole afternoon of tests passed surprisingly easily and peacefully with Sophia by my side. I sat in the hallway waiting. Sophia was in the consultation room, talking with the doctor. "Ethan," I pretended not to hear. Footsteps drew closer. Leo bent over. Ethan, are you here to see Olivia? Why don't you go in? I looked up and replied succinctly, no. I thought I had made myself clearer. I'm sick of Olivia, sick of Leo, sick of all of them. I hope they disappear from my sight forever. But some people insist on being stupid. Ah, so you're unwell? Where do you feel uncomfortable? My Lewis family has investments in this hospital. I can introduce you to a director-level doctor. I hate being looked down upon. So I stood up and looked down at Leo, who was half a head shorter than me. No need. You can't just kill someone in a hospital. I walked away and sat down on another bench. Leo turned his body slightly, his narrow eyes narrowing. Interesting. Is this the alternate personality that the badly bullied poor thing developed to protect themselves? The clinic door opened, and Sophia and the psychiatrist emerged one after the other. Leo was the first to greet them. Good day, Miss Sophia. Sophia frowned, then relaxed when she spotted the person in the chair across the room. She said nothing, only nodded politely and distantly. Then she walked straight toward the man approaching her without hesitation. Let's go. Okay. Ignoring Leo's sticky gaze, Sophia and I turned and left the hospital. The Johnson family members came on the third day. The Johnsons' butler, elevating himself as if he were the master, used a commanding tone to tell me to leave. Get out, I said. He stiffened, then quickly recovered. Mr. Ethan, this is the madam's order. The yellowing orange peel in my hand was tossed at the man's feet, and I said coldly again, can't you understand human speech? The butler left in annoyance, still throwing out a harsh warning. Mr. Ethan, be careful or you'll be confined by the madam again. The Johnsons have a confinement room, specially prepared for the mistress. Mr. Johnson occasionally walks in there himself for meditation. And Ethan, who is nominally the eldest young master of the Johnson family, was forced inside countless times for various reasons. The longest time he was locked up was 2 days and 1 night. A small chamber with no windows on any side, pitch black to the point you couldn't see your hand in front of you, and with especially good soundproofing, more tormenting than a prison. It was also after that time that Ethan came out timid and shrinking. He didn't dare talk back to anyone in the family, not even the servants. I stood up and walked to the courtyard gate. The steward, who hadn't gone far, turned around with undisguised pride. I told you, Mr. Ethan. Bang. I closed the iron gate and locked it neatly. Outside, the man was so furious the vein at his temple pulsed. He kept saying good 3 times. I went back to the Johnson family once more. If I didn't leave, the Johnsons would keep coming. I didn't care, but I didn't want Sophia to be harassed. When I arrived at the Johnsons, no one greeted me, and no one showed the slightest hint of pleasure. Evan rolled his eyes. I heard you've been good at cooking these past 2 years, so I'll leave today's lunch to you. Ethan can cook. In Harbor City, whether ordering takeout or eating out, it's expensive. The original owner's cooking skills were also pretty good. It was developed from tending to Olivia's picky appetite. I smiled. Okay, what would you like to eat? Before the other replied, I added, I'm especially good at braising. Evan, sitting on the sofa with his chin propped on his hand, said, Is braising all you can do? His expression was disdainful, and his words showed not the slightest respect for his elder brother. The servants around were accustomed to it. No one said that making food was the sort of thing Mr. Ethan would bother with. Keeping the curve at the corner of my mouth unchanged, I said, I can steam and deep fry as well. Evan ordered more than a dozen dishes. I didn't argue. I nodded and walked into the kitchen. He looked around and finally found a cleaver for chopping big bones in a drawer. He picked up the axe and walked out. The servant, who as usual liked watching commotion, was momentarily stunned, not knowing what humble Mr. Ethan intended to do with an axe. Evan, who was staring at his phone, only felt a burst of brute force pin him down. He had no time to react as he was pressed onto the coffee table. I pressed the back of his head down with one hand, and with the other, I brought the axe down hard onto the man's hand. Crunch! The sudden sound startled everyone. Mrs. Johnson Isabella, coming down from the second floor, looked at the scene before her in disbelief. The axe struck off course. It didn't chop Evan's hand off but it split the expensive marble coffee table with a crack. My whole arm went numb from the recoil. Evan peed himself in terror, then screamed for his mother. Mom. Ethan's gone mad. Save me. Save me. Security guards outside swarmed in like a hive. The axe hovered at the throat of my henchman's cowardly neck, and I said in a chilling voice, "You can try. See whether you're faster or my axe is." The security guards and servants all stepped back. Isabella was both shocked and furious, her vision going dark. Unsteady, she was steadied by a quick-handed servant. She pointed at me and scolded, "You've rebelled. You've revolted against heaven. I fed you, I watered you, and you actually harmed my son right in my own home." I tilted my head and smiled. Thank for the compliment. Unable to maintain the noblewoman act any longer, Isabella pressed her hand to her forehead and stepped back, snarling, "Call the master back, quickly." 20 minutes later, Mr. Johnson came rushing back in a flurry. The original owner was bullied by Evan and the servants, and as his father, he did not come back. The original owner was framed for stealing Isabella's jewelry and locked in the punishment room by her without any distinction, and as his father, he did not come back. Locked in the detention room for 2 days and 1 night, the original owner cried and cried injustice, trembled in fear, and screamed in collapse, his fingers clawing the walls until they bled. As a father, he still hadn't come back, but he returned when the little son wet his pants. "You wretch, what are you doing?" That's exactly the line I was waiting for. I lower my head, and the axe moved from Evan's neck to his arm. "Your son wanted to cook for him? I'm a person who insists on slaughtering and cooking on the spot. If he wants braised, steamed, fried, no problem. This ham will be braised, this arm will be steamed, and this fat leg will be fried." Isabella's face went deathly pale, and a timid servant vomited on the spot. "Mr. Johnson trembled with anger, pointing at me and yelling, "Unfilial child. He's your younger brother. My mom only gave birth to me. Where would a younger brother come from? You still have the nerve to mention your mother. She was famous for her virtue. If she saw you like this, she'd surely be so angry she'd die." My face instantly darkened. "Shut up." The axe struck the marble coffee table once again. "You are the one with no right to bring him up, Mr. Johnson." My axe pointed at him. "Do you dare tell what happened back then?" Outsiders said Catherine pretended to be morally superior, but Mrs. Johnson saw through her as an ambitious woman trying to climb into nobility. Even though she was pregnant, she was not allowed to marry into the Johnson family. But the truth was that Catherine came from a scholarly, respectable family. She was exceptionally talented and as beautiful as an immortal. Mr. Johnson fell in love at first sight and relentlessly pursued her. Catherine was moved, and the two had a free love. And that seemingly most amiable Mrs. Johnson could not tolerate her son loving another woman far more than his own mother. Mr. Johnson and Catherine were already discussing marriage when Mrs. Johnson, who had been polite to Catherine at first, suddenly changed her tune and threatened Mr. Johnson with suicide to force him to break up. Mr. Johnson chickened out. Pregnant Catherine, disillusioned, left for a distant place. In the later part of the original work, it describes that on her deathbed, Mrs. Johnson spoke kindly, admitting that back then she was blinded by jealousy and had ruined such a fine young woman. The Johnson family, from top to bottom, are all trash. Big trash gives birth to small trash. Small trash gives birth to smaller trash. With the axe held to Evan's face, I said slowly, "I'm back, not for anything else, just to take one thing. Once you hand that thing to me, from then on I, Ethan, am done with you and the Johnson family. We're even." "Not willing," I sneered. "I don't mind turning Evan into a full-course feast. What do you want?" Mr. Johnson asked wearily, pressing his temples. "The household registration book." Mr. Johnson looked up, puzzled. "What do you need the household registration book for?" Then he remembered something, and his face filled with displeasure. "To marry Olivia, you have to make such a fuss. How have I taught you all these years? He's old, and he speaks in riddles." I cut him off impatiently. "I want the household register name changed." The original owner's name was chosen by his mother, Catherine. Ethan. In the original novel, Ethan did not die. After she swallowed an entire bottle of sleeping pills, a distraught Olivia went madly searching for someone. Ethan was saved. Olivia wept bitterly. Leo, Isabella, and Evan repented. Their father, Mr. Johnson, had reddened eyes and vowed that no one would ever be able to bully him again. It was as if overnight everyone came to love him. But did Ethan really find it? I want to change my name. I don't want to be called Ethan. After thinking for 2 days, I decided to change only the surname and keep the given name. Mr. Johnson's face flushed with fury, even more enraged than when he first entered the villa and saw his beloved youngest son pressed against the coffee table. Nonsense. I had anticipated this, but I'm not here to negotiate today. I'm here to inform you. My patience has run out. My axe came down for the 3rd time. Evan's scream shot straight up into the sky. As I came out of the Johnson family villa, I saw Lily with a young man. I squinted. Lily introduced proactively, Jacob, the boss's younger brother. I restrained my hostility, forced a smile, and reached out my hand to the other person. Hello, I'm Ethan. Jacob raised an eyebrow and took the other's blood-splattered hand. Sitting in Jacob's car, Lily chattered nonstop. She first said she'd heard the commotion from the Johnson family from far away. She wagered that within 2 days the Johnson family would be topping River City's hot search at #1. Then she tapped her forehead and suddenly said, "Oh my, what a memory I have." She turned from the passenger seat and said, "Ethan, the boss is the one who sent us." After you left, she was worried, sick, couldn't get any work done, wouldn't eat, just sat there staring into space. Although I'd guessed, I still asked, really? The driving Jacob snorted. When she said you were sick, I didn't believe it. Thought you were faking to fool that idiot of hers. Now, it looks like you're not only sick, but seriously. Ow, why are you stepping on me? He cried out in pain from the stomp and got a scolding in return. If you can't speak, then don't. No one thinks you're mute. I left the small courtyard less than half a day ago, but it felt like a century had passed. Those people's faces flashed past before my eyes, and in the end, only the one in front of me remained. I'm back, I said softly. When he was Ethan, Mr. Johnson ignored the original owner. After turning back into Ethan, he started pestering him. What a rotten old bastard. Mr. Johnson came a 3rd time, and after being turned away for the 3rd time, he lost his temper. He shouted loudly outside the door, "Ethan, I am your father. We can sever our father-son relationship," I said calmly. Mr. Johnson outside the door grew even angrier. "What are you saying? Even if Evan bullied you before, he was young and immature. As his older brother, can't you show a little tolerance?" "No. All right. We'll talk about Evan later. For now, you're coming home with me. Get out. Ethan, I've already dealt with all those servants who disrespected you. What more do you want? I want that old bastard to disappear from in front of me forever. If it weren't for not being able to lay hands on him in front of Sophia, I would have sewn that old man's mouth shut long ago." They chattered noisily, driving me mad. No matter what he said, I simply wouldn't open the door. After 2 hours, Mr. Johnson left in a huff. The world went quiet. I turned my head, and the two of them were holding a watermelon for eyes staring at me. Where did the watermelon come from? Lily, Mr. Jacob had someone buy it. I frowned. The courtyard gate was occupied by Mr. Johnson. No one had come in at all. Jacob spat out the watermelon seeds, grinning. He climbed a ladder and came in through the 2nd floor. "Me," Jacob said again. "You were born sick, born weak. You used to be really, ridiculously cowardly. Because you were so timid, we didn't hang out with you. If you had even a shred of courage, Evan wouldn't have been manipulating you for over 10 years, and you wouldn't be friendless in this circle." He got kicked by Lily standing beside him. "Even with your mouth full, you won't shut up." Jacob refused to leave the studio. He constantly tried to persuade me to go out and play. Clubhouses, racing, horseback riding. He said he could take me to all of them. He claimed it was much more fun than doing those old, dead things with Sophia. Ethan had tried all the things he mentioned. After making a name for himself, he had what he should have and what he shouldn't. Boring, pretty sick of it. "You're really not going?" Jacob asked once more. I refused outright, not going. He asked Lily, Lily, are you going? Lily shook her head. I'm not going either. Last time you took me speeding, I nearly had a heart attack from the fright. Fine. Jacob stomped off alone, sulking. Not long after, Lily said she was going out to buy groceries and left as well. The studio was left with only Sophia and me. Sitting beside her, I stared at her almost greedily. Jacob noticed that I liked him and let me in on the fact that Sophia was going on blind dates. He said those men admitted Sophia was pretty, but dull, like a stagnant pool that would never stir. I asked him who they were. I wondered which eye should gouge out. Jacob shook his head. Don't take it to heart, it's scary. Don't worry, I've already had someone teach him a lesson. Sophia wasn't stagnant water. She was the spring water under the osmanthus tree. There was no woman in this world more gentle, attentive, and understanding than she was. Is there writing on my face? Being stared at intently for a long time, Sophia couldn't help teasing. I was stunned, hastily withdrawing my gaze and looking down, and no, word got out that I have dissociative identity disorder. The first one who couldn't sit still was Olivia. She came again, but not as high-handed and arrogantly rude as before. She said she would forgive the unclear relationship between me and Sophia, that she was willing to take me to the hospital for treatment and accompany me until I got better. The one who should go to the hospital for treatment is you, Olivia. Your delusions are severe. After saying that, I stood up and walked out. The woman lunged forward and hugged me. Ethan, it's me. How could you forget the little moments between us? You love me the most in this world. Only me, not Sophia. The other patrons in the cafe glanced over. Someone took out their phone. Restlessness and murderous intent surged. Without hesitation, I grabbed the woman's hair from behind and yanked. Olivia screamed. I ripped her off and threw her to the ground, lifting my foot to stomp down. A voice sounded in my ear. Ethan. I pulled my foot back quickly, standing on the spot completely at a loss. She saw me? Would she hate me? Women like powerful men, but they do not long for a killing machine who cannot control his emotions. This was said to Ethan by a woman I was about to shoot. She said it just before she died. She said people like me don't understand love and don't deserve to receive it. Stop taking pictures. Stop taking pictures. Lily rushed in to stop the people taking photos. Sophia led me out of the cafe by the hand. Her hand was warm and dry, not like mine, cold, stiff, and clammy. Just like that, she held my hand and walked me back to the little courtyard 5 kilometers away. Time passed so quickly. In the blink of an eye, the pounding of my heart still echoed in my ears, and we had arrived. Sophia let go of the hand she was holding. She turned to the side and was startled. Many years later, she still remembered this scene. She wasn't like Jacob, running all over the place. She liked to sit quietly. Therefore, she was not good at sports. After hiking 5 kilometers, she was so exhausted her head was spinning. She figured Ethan must be pretty tired too. Let me pour you a glass of water. Words stalled at her lips as her mind suddenly went blank. Under the osmanthus tree, the man looked like a child, head bowed and tears streaming down his face. His slightly round eyes held a depth of sorrow she had never seen before. Sophia had never seen anyone cry like that before. Tears streamed down in torrents, almost drowning him, yet no sound came from his mouth. Osmanthus blossoms blown by the wind drifted onto the man's head. She reached out and said, "Don't move. I'll take them off for you." Her hand clasped that tiny osmanthus tightly, while her other arm held the boy just as tightly. "It's all right now, go home." After Evan's hand healed, I stepped through the Johnson family gate for the second time. The servants, fearful and respectful, brought tea. Isabella still didn't like me, but even though her face was flushed purple, she didn't dare say another word. Mr. Johnson served me some food. "Eat more, or doing well, you've gained quite a bit of weight." The original lived in the vast Johnson family from age 8 to 22, severely malnourished. At 1 meter 86 tall, she weighed less than 120 gene. But in Sophia's little studio, vegetables, meat, and fruit were never lacking. In just over 2 months, I gained 30 gene. After eating, I went up to the room on the 3rd floor. The original owner was first brought back to live on the 2nd floor, but after a few years, Isabella found an excuse to shove him into the storage room on the 3rd floor. The room on the 2nd floor that belonged to him was converted into Evan's computer room. The Johnson family clearly had plenty of rooms. Coming down from the 3rd floor, Mr. Johnson stood at the stairwell with a complicated look in his eyes. After a long time, he said resentfully, "Isabella went too far." He reached out to take my backpack. I dodged. "Don't touch me, it's dirty." Mr. Johnson's arm froze in midair. I came down, and a man in a suit and tie said respectfully, "Mr. Ethan, this is the share transfer contract for Johnson Group." I lifted it and glanced over it. 4%, a market value of just over $3 billion US. This would have been impossible before. "Do you need me to do something? Change the name back? Or kneel and call you Dad? Serve your wife and son?" The flesh on his cheeks trembled. After a long while, Mr. Johnson said with a headache, "There are no grudges between father and son overnight. Is it necessary for you to be so aggressively confrontational all the time? The Ethan who doesn't push people is dead. I don't believe such good fortune, getting more than $3 billion for doing nothing, would fall into my lap." I called Jacob. He's playful, but I heard he's an executive at Taylor's company, not just a figurehead. He asked me to take a photo and send it to him. The lawyer tried to stop me. I gave him a sidelong glance. Mr. Johnson waved his hand. "Let him take it. Take the picture and send it to Jacob." 5 minutes later, he called and said, "No problem. Not bad. My dad never gave me this much." I signed and pressed my thumbprint. Isabella and her son watched the entire time. Evan's eyes turned red with jealousy. He had never doubted the old man's affection for him and never expected to be played for a fool in the end. Leaving the Johnson household, the sun shone brightly and I was in a very good mood. Ethan's things, I picked a day and burned them. Right under the osmanthus tree in the little courtyard. Some couldn't be burned, so I buried the remaining half-pot of ashes in the ground. 2 years later, Sophia and I registered our marriage and visited the Taylor family. Jacob slapped my shoulder like a brother and said, "You wouldn't believe it. We all thought Sophia, my sister, was the reincarnation of a nun, always hanging around things from hundreds, even thousands of years ago. My mom forced her to go on blind dates. She'd take 1 sip of coffee and leave, sometimes not even sip at all. Why waste time on trash?" I asked. Jacob choked. "Your mouth is as sharp as ever. In that way you two are pretty alike. Watch yourself when you kiss someone, don't poison them." Jacob was glared at by Mr. Taylor. Mrs. Taylor covered her mouth and laughed. "Isn't this great? Sophia likes it, and Jacob gets along with people." The Taylor family prepared a dowry of over $100 million for Sophia. I wanted to transfer shares of the Johnson family to her as a betrothal gift, but she refused. We own several properties, but our favorite is the little courtyard where osmanthus trees are planted. She organizes and restores ancient books, and I sit beside her doing odd jobs or lie with my head in her lap playing with her long hair. At times like this, she usually stops her work helplessly, lifts the fruit plate on the table, picks up the grapes I've washed, and presses them into my mouth. I hold a grape in my mouth and look up at her without saying a word. She quietly blushes. Then she raises her hand to cover my eyes. News about Olivia and Leo reached me in bits and pieces from other people. Olivia wanted to cure the obsession that had driven me mad. One rainy night, I crouched on the ground with my hands in my pockets, looking down at the woman crawling in the mud, utterly disheveled. "I'm not Ethan. Your Ethan was played to death by you. Before he died, he wasn't thinking of you. He was thinking of Catherine. The story is my invention, but it's based on facts." Olivia went completely mad. She wanted Ethan's soul back, searching the world for experts and mystics. But she was deceived by those close to her together with a Taoist priest and had all the money in her account taken. When the Sullivan family found out, they were utterly disappointed and forced her into a marriage with a playboy who had been married twice. The playboy was not Leo. As for Leo, no one knew what he was thinking. He was obsessed with seducing men, and the men he sought were somewhat similar to me. Rumors gradually spread within the circle that his real purpose in getting close to Olivia was because of me. It disgusted me. I only sent him a man. In the middle of the night, Leo had a massive hemorrhage and was taken away by an ambulance. He was completely furious. At least Olivia's marriage brought someone who wanted her. Him. In River City, there wasn't a single respectable person who found him acceptable. The Sullivan family sent someone abroad. Before boarding the plane, he borrowed someone else's phone to call me. "Ethan, I hate you." I smiled. "Thank you, Mr. Leo, but I'm Ethan." And Evan, too. He had his finger chopped off by me in public and has held a grudge. He can't beat me, so he hires people to deal with me. First, I beat up the lackeys he hired. Then I take one of their knives and go find Evan. The coward wet himself again. In a civilized society, you can't actually kill someone, so I used the method Jacob taught me and recorded it. Sent it to Mr. Johnson. Told him to mind his son. Troublemaker, Evan was thrown into the Johnson group for training. But since childhood, he had either been eating, drinking, and having fun, or scheming to make Ethan look bad. When put in charge of managing the company, he made a complete mess of it, consecutively causing the Johnson Group to lose several $100 million. Mr. Johnson, furious enough to have a heart attack, kicked him out. Ruthlessly canceling the other's card, Evan went home to cry to his mother. Mr. Johnson thought of me. I pondered for a moment and went. I don't have much culture, but managing people, I can give it a try. When Ethan was at his peak, the same year I transmigrated into the book, he had over 800 people under him. Men and women, old and young, every kind of person. Only, Ethan's methods of managing people were very brutal, and Ethan couldn't do it. I patiently asked my brother-in-law for advice. Jacob, chin in hand, said, "It's the same with Sophia. She can do it. She just doesn't want to join the company. You are her husband. Even if you don't like it, she still has to teach." After agonizing for 2 days, I still couldn't bring myself to tell my wife. She is a very intelligent woman, with dual bachelor's degrees and a master's degree. But I know that compared to running a company, she prefers restoring ancient books. Had no choice when to find my brother-in-law again. Jacob snorted and rubbed his head. "What? You're going to take advantage of me alone. You teach me how to manage. I'll teach you how to chase women." Jacob looked disdainful. "Please, big brother's rich and handsome. Women throw themselves at me, okay? Chase Lily," I said with a blank face. Jacob faltered. After a long pause, "Well, I'm not interested in Lily. A total violent maniac. Who would like that kind of woman? I'll teach you because we're bros." Haha, what do you think you should start learning? After working nonstop for a week and coming home, I collapsed on the sofa. A cup of warm water that smelled sweet was brought to my lips. I tried to sit up to take it. "Don't move, I'll do it." Sophia placed her other hand on her husband's nape. He immediately tilted his head like a puppy, nuzzled her palm, and then began to sip the water. The water was sweet. Honey had been added. After drinking, I felt energized all over. Staring at the woman in front of me again and again, I grabbed her hand and gave it a shake. "Wife." She curved her lips. "Not tired?" I nodded, shook my head, and let out a silly laugh. "Seeing you make me not tired anymore." At the company, whenever those bastards made me so furious I wanted to kick them, a gentle, serene face would flash through my mind, and most of my anger would instantly dissipate. The foot I was about to kick would be pulled back. To prove myself, I bent down and scooped the person up horizontally, even hefting them a little. Sophia was a bit startled. "Have you been drinking?" she asked, hurriedly wrapping her arms around the man's neck. I laughed and replied, "No, I don't drink that stuff. It doesn't taste good. Your honey yuzu tea is much better." Ethan had to drink it to stay alive. But now, Ethan didn't have to drink. I carried Sophia up to the second floor, our marital room. The first time we met, her figure was slender, about 1.7 meters and probably under 100 Gene, since she often forgot to eat when she was busy. Before she joined Johnson Group, I would stand by her desk holding the prepared meal. She sighed and reluctantly stopped the work in her hands. I was fat, and she was fat too. I gained 30 Gene, She gained 15 gene. The day we went to the Taylor household, I changed into a cheapow and came down from the stairs. My well-proportioned figure made me gulp down my saliva. Wife, you smell so nice. Sophia hugged her. You've said that many times, but just smells so good. Weird, we use the same skincare. Why don't I smell like that? Murmuring, I buried my head deep in the hollow of the woman's neck and took a long, forceful sniff of the fragrance wafting from her. Big hands gripped her slender waist as I tilted my head and kissed the woman's soft lips. Baby, I like you so much. I love you to death. Osmanthus sent rolls and waves to fill the vermilion door. Moonlight flows like ripples, soaking the brocade robe. Palms gather fierce flames that bind the fragrant body. Hearts tremble together. Soft words enfold sincere love. Long nights entwine joy to dispel parting sorrows. Deep affection piles on the brows, intoxicates the Lord's soul. The wind carries obsessed thoughts around dawn and dusk. Kindness and loyalty run deep, year after year accompanying the beloved. George, I've got good news and bad news. Which do you want to hear first? I put down my paintbrush and looked at my friend Frank. He stood at the studio door with a mysterious air, his face a mix of nervousness and excitement. Let's start with the bad news. After all, I've gotten used to it these past 3 years. Your painting, Eternity, just sold for a sky-high price. Over $6 million. I frowned. How is that bad news? Frank chuckled. Because it's actually part of the good news. The bad news is, buddy, you might need to see a psychiatrist. What do you mean? A woman who looks exactly like Mary showed up at your art exhibition. I almost thought I was seeing a ghost. The paintbrush slipped from my hand and fell to the floor, splattering paint across the unfinished canvas. Mary, my late wife, died 3 years ago after accidentally falling off a cliff. I watched with my own eyes as her body was pulled from the water. In that moment, my world completely collapsed. Stop joking around, Frank. Why would I lie to you? She even left this. Frank handed me a note, with an address and a time written on it. My hand trembled slightly. The handwriting was exactly the same as Mary's. That night, I waited until midnight at the designated cafe. Just as I was about to leave, a familiar figure appeared at the door. Mary? No, it couldn't be her. But every gesture of that woman, from the tips of her hair to her fingertips, was a shadow of Mary. George, it's been a long time. She sat across from me, and the familiar voice nearly made my heart stop. Who are you? I struggled to remain calm. I'm Mary, your wife. She smiled and reached out her hand. There was a scar on her palm, the mark Mary got when she accidentally cut herself on glass at 15. Impossible. Mary is already dead. She laughed softly. That was just an accident. I fell off the cliff and was saved by a reclusive old doctor. I lost my memory from the injuries and only recently remembered everything. As she spoke, tears began to fall with an expression I knew all too well, the look Mary wore whenever she felt wronged. I know it's hard to believe, but I really am Mary. I couldn't believe my eyes. The shade of lipstick Mary loved most, the faint little mole beneath her left ear, the unconscious habit of rubbing her ring while speaking. Everything was so familiar. Are you really Mary? She nodded and took a small box out of her bag. This is the proof. Inside the box was the first piece of jewelry Mary ever designed. A sapphire ring, the only one of its kind, never mass-produced. I brought it with me that day because I wanted to surprise you. I suddenly stood up and pulled her into my arms. 3 years of longing surged over me like a tide. I held her tightly, afraid that if I let go, she would disappear again. On the way home, she told me about her experiences over the past 3 years. She was rescued by an old doctor in the mountains, lost her memory due to a severe head injury, and lived in a remote mountain village for more than 2 years. It wasn't until she happened to see a poster for my art exhibition that her memory gradually returned. The next day, I took her to see Frank. Oh my God, it really is you, Mary. Frank stared in astonishment, eyes wide. Frank, it's been a long time. She greeted him with a smile, exactly as I remembered. Frank pulled me aside and whispered, Man, this is unbelievable, but I really believe it's her. Who else but Mary could call me by my childhood nickname so accurately? That was something only the two of you knew. A week later, Mary officially returned. We held a small welcome party for her. Her mother was so overwhelmed that she fainted, and when she woke up, she clung to her daughter and refused to let go. But that night, I noticed the first sign that something was off. Mary never ate mangoes because she was severely allergic. Yet the returned Mary absent-mindedly tasted a mango dessert and was perfectly fine. "Aren't you allergic to mangoes?" I asked. She paused for a moment, then quickly laughed and said, "Oh, that old Chinese doctor cured my allergy. He's really amazing." I nodded, but in my heart, I marked the first question mark. Is this really my wife? A month passed quickly, and Mary blended perfectly into our lives. She knew the location of every item in the house, remembered our shared memories, and could even accurately name friends we hadn't contacted in years. But those subtle feelings of discord kept growing. For example, the real Mary liked to listen to classical music, especially Debussy, while designing jewelry. But she would always unconsciously hum along to pop songs. Mary always habitually used her left hand to hold chopsticks, even though she knew it was wrong. She just couldn't change. But she was a standard right-handed user. The most obvious difference appeared that night when I accidentally caught her smoking in the bedroom. The real Mary hated the smell of smoke. Even when I came home from social events with a faint scent of cigarettes, she would frown. "When did you start smoking?" I stood at the doorway, my voice soft. She was clearly startled, hastily snuffing out the cigarette. This is a herbal cigarette for treating insomnia, prescribed by an old Chinese doctor." I nodded, not pressing further, but the doubts in my heart only grew deeper. The next day, I went to find Frank. "Help me check if, in the past 3 years, plastic surgery technology has advanced enough to achieve this level." Frank's eyes widened. "You mean, she's not Mary?" "I'm not sure, but there are always some things that don't add up." 2 days later, Frank brought news. High-end plastic surgery can make faces look similar, but it can't replicate the exact placement of scars or moles. And there's a limit to how well someone can imitate a voice. What if it was a twin? Frank shook his head. "Mary is an only child. We all know that." I decided not to show my feelings for now and to keep observing. A week later, Mary's mother came to my house with astonishing news. "George, Mary is going to have a baby," my mother-in-law told me excitedly. I stood there stunned. Before we got married, Mary had been diagnosed with uterine hypoplasia. The doctor had made it clear she could never get pregnant. This was our shared secret. Not even my mother-in-law knew. How do you know that?" I managed to ask. "Mary told me this morning. She said she already had a checkup. It's been 2 months. My mother-in-law happily grabbed my hand. "It's a blessing from above. Mary survived death, and now she can bring us new life." My heart sank to the bottom. This absolutely could not be Mary. That night, I dug out the hospital's diagnosis certificate in my study, which clearly stated the condition of Mary's uterus. But when I wanted to talk to Mary about it, I found her in the bedroom, excitedly discussing the decoration of the nursery with my mother-in-law. "Mary, could you come here for a moment?" I called her calmly. She followed me into the study, still wearing a blissful smile on her face. "Did you forget about this?" I handed her the diagnosis certificate. She took it and glanced at it, her face instantly turning pale. "George, I can explain." "Explain what?" "Explain that you're not Mary at all." Mother-in-law heard the commotion and walked in. "What's going on with you two?" "Mom, take a look at this." I handed her the proof. My mother-in-law read it, then looked at Mary in astonishment. "What's going on?" "Mary, you can't have children." "Of course she can," I sneered, "because she's not Mary at all." My mother-in-law's face changed dramatically. "What nonsense are you talking about?" "I can explain." She hurriedly grabbed my mother-in-law's hand. "That old Chinese doctor not only saved my life, but also cured my uterine problem. It's a miracle, truly." My mother-in-law looked at me, then at her, hesitating. "George, you're being too paranoid." My mother-in-law finally took her daughter's side. "Mary has come back with great difficulty. You should cherish her, not doubt her." "Yes, George, I know this is hard to accept, but miracles do happen." Tears welled up in her eyes. "Haven't we always wanted a child? Now we can finally have our own baby." I looked at her face, identical to Mary's, yet I became more certain in my heart. This woman was not my wife. "All right, I believe you." I smiled, deciding to go along with their story for now. Let's wait together for this miracle to happen. That night, I secretly contacted a private detective. My mother-in-law gladly accepted her daughter's explanation, even suggesting she move in with us to take care of Mary during her pregnancy. Outwardly, I agreed, but inside I grew even more wary. This was no coincidence. There had to be some kind of plot. Mom, haven't you always lived in Haicheng? Won't it be hard to get used to living here? I probed cautiously. For my grandson, I'm willing to endure any inconvenience, my mother-in-law said firmly. I noticed a fleeting unnatural expression on Mary's face. Could the truth be connected to my mother-in-law? On the third day after my mother-in-law moved in, I discovered more suspicious details. For example, the real Mary never drank coffee, but she and my mother-in-law often enjoyed it together. Also, Mary's favorite movie was Roman Holiday, but she claimed to prefer Titanic. The strangest thing is, Mary used to despise her cousin Tom when she was alive, but now he visits frequently and chats and laughs with Mary as if they're old friends. I told Frank about these discoveries. Buddy, things are getting more and more suspicious, Frank frowned. Are you sure you want to keep going like this? Why not just expose her directly? It's not the right time yet. I want to find out what they're really after. The private detective's investigation also made progress. The so-called old Chinese doctor who had saved Mary did not exist at all, and Mary's whereabouts over the past 3 years were completely untraceable. More importantly, the private detective uncovered a shocking fact during the investigation. Mary's cousin Tom was deeply in debt from gambling, and the painting Eternity under my name, worth over $6 million, was his only hope for quick cash. They're after your painting, the private detective asserted, and this fake Mary is likely a professional identity fraudster, hard to win your trust. I took a deep breath and decided to take the initiative. That afternoon, I pretended to go out, but secretly returned home and hid in the study. Sure enough, Mary and her cousin Tom were whispering to each other in the living room. It's taking too long, Tom said irritably. How much longer until he sells the painting? Don't worry, she soothed him. I'm already pregnant, and now he completely believes I'm Mary. In a little while, I'll say I want to move to a better neighborhood for the sake of the baby, and then we'll naturally need to sell the painting to raise money. You're really pregnant? That wasn't part of the plan. It was an accident, but it works to our advantage. George wants a child so badly. Does Annie know the truth? She only knows we're trying to scam money, not the specific plan. But she hates George, thinks he caused her daughter's death, so she's more than happy to help. I clenched my fists. So my mother-in-law had always believed that Mary's accident was somehow my fault. In fact, we did argue over something trivial that day, and Mary stormed out in anger. I didn't try to stop her. But I never imagined it would be the last time I'd see her. You don't actually have feelings for George, do you? Tom suddenly asked. She was silent for a moment. It's just part of the job. Besides, I owe you, and I won't go back on my word. Good then. Don't forget how we're splitting the money once we get it. Their conversation confirmed my suspicions. This was all an elaborate scheme, with my eternity as the target. In the days that followed, I pretended everything was normal while secretly making preparations. I contacted the police, arranged for evidence-gathering equipment, and found the last piece Mary had left before she died, a silver necklace that had never been made public, engraved with an anniversary date only the two of us knew. 2 weeks later, my art exhibition was held as scheduled. As planned, Mary brought up the idea of moving, hinting that I could sell Eternity. I pretended to agree and said I would auction the painting on the last day of the exhibition. This is a surprise I prepared for you, I said on the eve of the exhibition, taking out a delicate box. To celebrate the new life we're about to begin. She opened the box in surprise, and inside was the silver necklace. It's beautiful, thank you. She smiled as she prepared to put it on. Wait, I stopped her. Aren't you going to look at the engraving on the back? She turned the necklace over, and her face suddenly went pale. What's wrong? Don't you like it? I asked, feigning ignorance. No, I really like it. It's just, I'm a bit moved. She forced a smile, but didn't know how to explain that she couldn't recognize the significance of that date. See you tomorrow. Get some good rest, and don't forget to wear this necklace. I kissed her forehead and whispered in her ear, after all, this is your final design. Her body visibly stiffened for a moment, but she kept smiling. Of course, I cherish it very much. Tomorrow, the truth will come to light. On the day of the exhibition, the place was packed with people. My painting, Eternity, was displayed in the most prominent spot, right next to the last batch of jewelry designs Mary had created before her death. Mary held my arm, flawlessly playing the role of my wife as always. She had even gone out of her way to wear Mary's favorite white dress and the silver necklace I had given her last night. My mother-in-law and Tom were there too. The three of them exchanged glances from time to time, clearly waiting for the perfect moment. Frank appeared as planned, pretending to be extremely interested in eternity and asking me about the auction details. The auction will begin promptly at 4 in the afternoon, I replied with a smile. This painting means a great deal to me, and I hope it finds someone who truly appreciates it. Mary immediately chimed in. Yes, although it's hard to part with it, this is a necessary decision for our future. I noticed she glanced at Tom, who gave a barely perceptible nod. At 3:30 in the afternoon, the projector in the center of the exhibition hall lit up. This was the special segment I had arranged. Ladies and gentlemen, I stood in front of eternity. Before the auction begins, I'd like to share a little story about this painting. Mary's photo appeared on the projection screen, a group picture from her last birthday party before she passed away. 3 years ago, my wife Mary died in an accident. I created this painting, Eternity, in her memory. The woman in the painting has her back to the viewer, forever gazing into the distance, symbolizing a longing I can never reach. A soft sigh rippled through the crowd. Mary stood beside me, matching my words with a sorrowful expression. However, a month ago, a miracle happened. I turned to look at Mary. My wife came back. The whole room erupted in astonishment, and many people curiously sized up, Mary. This is my wife, Mary. I took her hand and stepped forward. Back from the dead, it's truly the greatest blessing heaven could have given me. She smiled and nodded to everyone, while my mother-in-law and Tom stood by with smug expressions. However, my tone suddenly shifted. Amidst my joy, a question arose. Is she really Mary? The entire room fell silent. Mary's hand trembled slightly in my palm. So, I did some investigating. The projector switched to a set of comparison photos. On the left was the real Mary. On the right was a photo of her. They look exactly the same, don't they? But I clicked the remote, and the photo was enlarged, the details highlighted. The position of the piercing on the left ear was slightly different, the arch of the eyebrows subtly varied, and the fine lines at the corners of the eyes ran in different directions. These are details that even professional plastic surgery cannot fully replicate. Mary tried to pull her hand away, but I held on tightly. My mother-in-law and Tom also began to grow anxious, glancing toward the exit. More importantly, the real Mary has a feature that cannot be copied. I turned to Mary. The necklace I gave you last night has a date engraved on the back. Can you tell everyone what that date is? She opened her mouth, but no words came out. That was the due date of our first child, the one we lost. I spoke softly, my voice trembling with emotion. Mary designed this necklace to commemorate the baby we never got to meet. The date was our secret, only Mary and I knew. The room fell utterly silent. Mary turned deathly pale, my mother-in-law's eyes widened, and Tom had already started edging toward the door. What surprised me even more, I continued, was that the real Mary could never get pregnant due to an underdeveloped uterus. Yet this, Mary claims she's already 2 months along. I let go of her hand and took a step back. So, who are you really? A flicker of despair flashed in Mary's eyes, but she quickly regained her composure. I am Mary, it's just that old Chinese doctor. The non-existent old Chinese doctor, right? I sneered. Just like the non-existent amnesia, the non-existent miraculous recovery. I turned toward the projection screen. Let's see the truth. The screen played the secretly recorded video of her conversation with Tom, their discussion on how to swindle eternity, clearly audible. This isn't. She tried to explain, but my mother-in-law had already rushed forward. Who are you really? My mother-in-law screamed. You're not my daughter? Auntie, stop pretending, I said calmly. You know she's not Mary. You just wanted to get back at me, didn't you? My mother-in-law's face turned pale. I didn't know she was going to impersonate Mary. Tom just said he needed help to scam some money. Police. Don't move. Several plainclothes officers emerged from the crowd, blocking Tom as he tried to escape. Amid the chaos, Mary took the opportunity to shove me aside and run toward the exit. I chased after her and caught up in the parking lot. Tell me, who are you really? She finally stopped, turned to face me, tears welling in her eyes. My name is Luna. I'm an actress. Tom found me and said if I helped trick you out of a painting, he'd give me $1 million. I needed the money for my sister's medical treatment. Why did they choose me? Why Mary? She shook her head. I don't know. They gave me a lot of information, photos, videos, even your chat logs. I was just following the script. The police arrived and took her away. I stood where I was, gazing at the distant sky, my heart a tumult of emotions. Back in the exhibition hall, the crowd had already dispersed, leaving only Frank and a few police officers. It's all been cleared up, Frank walked over. Tom owed money to loan sharks and was desperate. Your mother-in-law always resented you for not saving Mary, so she helped them plan the whole thing. I walked up to Eternity, gently caressing the back of the woman in the painting. Mary, I can finally give you an answer. The police left with the evidence. Frank patted me on the shoulder. What do you plan to do next? I took a deep breath. Prepare for the final painting. What will it be called? The Pursuit, I said softly. This time, I'll paint her face, not just her back. After the case was solved, my life seemed to return to where it was 3 years ago. Eternity was temporarily held by the court as crucial evidence. Tom and Luna were arrested for fraud, and my mother-in-law was investigated as an accomplice. The prosecution wants you to testify in court, the officer called to inform me. The trial is scheduled for early next month. I agreed, though I was utterly exhausted inside. After exposing the deception, I thought I would feel the thrill of revenge, but what I felt instead was a profound emptiness. Those days spent with Mary that month had allowed me to feel a trace of warmth in life again, even if that warmth was born of lies. Frank often came to see me, worried I might fall into despair once more. I told him not to worry, that I was working on a new piece, The Pursuit. Are you really going to paint Mary's face from the front? Frank asked curiously. For the past 3 years, you've always refused to do that. It's time, I replied. We can't live in the past forever. I moved out of the apartment I had shared with Mary and returned to the old house in the suburbs, the place where the real Mary and I had first made our home. The dust-laden memories in the house brought me both pain and comfort. Mary's studio remained just as she had left it, design sketches scattered across the table, unfinished jewelry drafts pinned to the drawing board. One afternoon, while sorting through Mary's belongings, I discovered an encrypted external hard drive. After several attempts, I finally unlocked it using our wedding anniversary as the password. Inside were backups of Mary's design works, along with some personal photos and videos. One folder in particular caught my attention. Inside a folder named Plan was a series of jewelry design sketches, labeled George's Birthday Special Project. It was then I remembered that, in the months before Mary passed away, she often spoke mysteriously about giving me an unparalleled birthday surprise. Leafing through these design drafts, I couldn't help but be moved to tears. Mary had planned to design a jewelry collection inspired by my paintings over the years, with each piece corresponding to a representative work from my artistic career. The last page was a sketch of a ring, with a dark red stone set in the center, its edges adorned with tiny diamonds, closely resembling the sunrise in my early work, Dawn. This is blood amber? I examined the notes carefully, confirming the name of this rare gemstone. Mary's designs had always been bold, but blood amber is extremely rare in the Chinese market, almost impossible to acquire. How did she obtain such a material? As I continued searching, I found a series of email correspondence screenshots. Mary had actually contacted a gemstone dealer in Myanmar, commissioning the blood amber specifically for this ring. The last email showed that the gem had already been shipped, but the date was exactly 1 week before Mary's death. I immediately called Frank. Help me check if there was a package sent from Myanmar 3 years ago, addressed to Mary. 2 days later, Frank brought news. The package did exist, but since no one signed for it, it was returned. However, according to the shipping records, it was resent a month ago, this time addressed to you. What? I was completely confused. I haven't received any package. Check your old apartment? Frank suggested. Back at my old apartment, the manager told me there was indeed a package, but it had been signed for by Mary. She said it was a surprise for you, so she didn't notify you, the manager explained. This meant Luna had taken the blood amber. I rushed to the detention center and requested to see Luna. Separated by glass, she looked much more haggard than the last time we met, but still wore that face so similar to Mary's. What are you doing here? She asked coldly. A month ago, you signed for a package from Myanmar. There was a blood amber inside. I want to know where it is. She looked surprised. How did you know? Tom asked me to sign for it. He said it was some precious gem. He took it. My heart sank. Tom was deep in gambling debt. A precious blood amber would be a windfall for him. He had probably sold it long ago. That blood amber is very important to me, I said softly. It was the last gift my wife left me. Luna was silent for a moment, then suddenly said, maybe it's not that bad. Tom said the stone has flaws, its value is greatly reduced, and he hasn't found a suitable buyer yet. Hope was rekindled. If Tom hadn't sold the blood amber yet, maybe there was still a chance to get it back. Do you know where he might hide it? Luna hesitated for a moment. He has a safe deposit box in a self-storage facility on the east side of the city. After getting the address, I immediately contacted the officer in charge of the case and explained the situation. Since Tom was involved in a large sum of money, the police quickly approved the search request. Mr. George, we've found the safe deposit box, the officer said over the phone. Inside, we did find the blood amber you described, as well as some other evidence. A few hours later, I retrieved the blood amber at the police station. It was even more beautiful than I had imagined. Within the dark red core, wisps of mist seemed to swirl, shifting strangely under the light. This was the birthday gift Mary had so carefully chosen for me, waiting for 3 years. Back home, I carefully placed the blood amber beside the canvas of the pursuit. The painting was already more than half finished, Mary's face emerging from the blur into clarity, yet it still felt like something was missing. Watching the blood amber glimmer faintly under the light, I suddenly understood how I should complete the painting. The creation of the pursuit entered its final stage. I decided to break convention and incorporate the blood amber into the artwork. This would not only be a portrait, but a hybrid piece that fused painting with the art of jewelry. Are you sure you want to do this? Frank frowned. That blood amber is priceless. That's exactly why, I said firmly. Mary chose it for me. She wanted to inspire an unparalleled masterpiece. I will fulfill her wish. For 2 whole weeks, I worked day and night, neglecting sleep and food. I cut the blood amber into thin slices and inlaid them at the spot of Mary's eyes on the canvas, making her gaze truly come alive. I used a special technique to blend the surrounding paint, creating a harmonious transition with the gemstone. From certain angles, the entire painting seemed to be imbued with life, and Mary's expression would shift depending on where the viewer stood. On the day I finished the piece, Frank brought news. Luna had been sentenced to 3 years in prison, but due to her good attitude in confessing, she might serve only 1.5 years. Tom, involved in multiple fraud cases, was sentenced to 7 years. My mother-in-law, as an accomplice, received a suspended sentence. The case is finally over, Frank said. Are you planning to exhibit your painting? Yes. Next month there will be a solo exhibition at the National Art Museum, and The Pursuit will be the grand finale. The curator couldn't stop praising this piece, believing it represents the innovative direction of contemporary art and marks the pinnacle of my career. Indeed, this painting, which incorporates Mary's jewelry design concepts, is in some sense a creation we made together. On the eve of the exhibition, I checked the arrangement in the gallery alone one last time, making sure every piece was perfectly lit and positioned. When I reached The Pursuit, I couldn't help but stop and gaze at it. Mary's face was vividly lifelike, her eyes inlaid with blood amber gleaming under the spotlight, as if she were smiling at me. For the first time in 3 years, I faced her directly, no longer painting only her back. Mr. George, a stranger's voice called from behind. Sorry to disturb you, but the gallery has been cleared. He turned around to see a young woman dressed in the museum's staff uniform. And you are? I'm the new curator, responsible for security in your exhibition area, she explained with a smile. I really like your work, especially this piece, The Pursuit. Thank you. I nodded. I'll be leaving soon. She didn't leave, but continued to gaze at the painting. That red gem is beautiful, almost as if it's alive. It's blood amber, I explained, a very rare gemstone. I know, she said softly, top-grade blood amber from Myanmar, containing plant fossils, extremely rare. I looked at her in surprise. You know a lot about jewelry? She smiled. I study jewelry design. I'm just working part-time here. For some reason, Mary suddenly came to mind. She, too, had an almost obsessive passion for and expertise in gemstones. If you don't mind me asking, who is the woman in this painting? She asked. My wife, I replied. She passed away 3 years ago. She was a jewelry designer. I'm very sorry, she said sincerely, then gestured toward the blood amber. This gem must mean a great deal to you. It was the last birthday gift she chose for me before she died, but I only found it recently. She nodded thoughtfully. Setting it into her portrait is the best way to remember her. For some reason, talking with this unfamiliar woman brought me a strange sense of calm. Perhaps it was her love for jewelry that reminded me of Mary. Sorry, I have to continue my rounds. She glanced at her watch. See you tomorrow, Mr. George. See you tomorrow, I replied, watching her leave. On the way home, I felt an unusual peace. The completion of The Pursuit seemed to mark the end of my search for Mary as well. Not forgetting, but remembering her forever in another way. The next day, the exhibition's opening ceremony attracted numerous figures from the art world and the media. The Pursuit undoubtedly became the center of attention, with people marveling at this innovative form of artistic expression. Amid the crowd, I noticed that curator standing aside, watching as well. Sunlight streamed through the skylight of the gallery, falling upon her, and for a fleeting moment, I thought I saw Mary's shadow. No, I shook my head, warning myself not to be deceived by mere resemblance. There would never be another Mary in this world, just as there would never be another unique blood amber. After the exhibition, The Pursuit was purchased by an anonymous collector for an astronomical price. I donated all the proceeds to a foundation supporting students in jewelry design, establishing a scholarship in Mary's name. Life slowly moved forward, and I began to accept new commissions and create new works. Occasionally, I would think of that curator with a unique insight into jewelry, wondering if she was still working at the art museum. Until one day, I received an email from HL. There were no words, only an image. A sketch of a ring design, the style strikingly similar to Mary's unfinished series. My heart raced as I replied immediately. Who is this? The response came quickly. Yesterday, you brushed past me by the cafe on the street corner, but you didn't recognize me. If you want to know more, wait for me at the museum entrance at noon tomorrow. Is it that librarian? How could she have a design so reminiscent of Mary's style? Filled with anxiety and anticipation, I decided to accept the invitation and find out for myself. The next day at noon, I arrived at the art museum half an hour early. The sun was shining, and small groups of visitors were coming and going from the exhibition hall, but there was no sign of the mysterious person. Just as I began to suspect this might be some kind of prank, a faint trace of perfume drifted by, a scent unfamiliar to me, yet it inexplicably reminded me of Mary. Mr. George, thank you for coming. The voice behind me made me turn around. It was the curator. Today, she wasn't wearing her uniform, but a simple white dress, completely different from Mary's style when she was alive. Did you send the email? I asked directly. She nodded. There are some things I want to tell you, but not here. Will you come with me? We walked through the small park beside the art museum and arrived at a secluded cafe. The whole time, I kept observing her. Her mannerisms, the way she walked, none of it resembled Mary. Yet her sensitivity to detail and her focused attention gave me a strange sense of familiarity. Who are you, really? The moment we sat down, I couldn't wait to ask. My name is Nicole. She looked me straight in the eye. I'm Mary's student. This answer caught me off guard. Mary had indeed taught jewelry design part-time at the Design Academy before she passed away, but she had never mentioned having any particularly close students. I took her advanced design class the year before she passed, Nicole explained. Her guidance benefited me for a lifetime. That still doesn't explain why your designs resemble her style so much, I said, half convinced. Nicole took a folder out of her bag. These are all notes from Ms. Nicole's class and her feedback on my work. You can look at the handwriting and confirm that it's really hers. I carefully examined the materials. It was indeed Mary's handwriting. There were even traces of the pale purple ink she habitually used. Before Ms. Nicole passed away, she was guiding me on my graduation project, Nicole continued. The theme was interwoven light and shadow, blending Eastern and Western aesthetic elements. She gave me a lot of valuable advice, and even showed me a sketch from a private project she was working on at the time. George's special birthday project? I blurted out. Nicole's eyes widened in surprise. You know about it? I only found out recently. I briefly explained the origin of the blood amber. I knew that blood amber would eventually find its way back to you, Nicole said with a smile. Nicole always said it was a destined gift. Is that why you contacted me? Because you saw the blood amber? Nicole was silent for a moment. as if choosing her words carefully. Not entirely. After Nicole passed away, I've been trying to carry on the design philosophy she taught me. Some time ago, I happened to see the news about your eternity being stolen, and then I saw someone impersonating Nicole. I thought I should tell you a few things. She took a letter out of her bag. This is the last letter Nicole gave me after class before she passed away. She said if her surprise plan went smoothly, I should show you this letter. If anything went wrong and she was gone, I should still make sure you see it. I took the envelope. It was indeed Mary's handwriting, and it read, "To my dearest husband." The envelope had already been opened. I didn't know what was in the letter at the time. I just kept it as Nicole instructed, Nicole explained. It wasn't until I saw the news that I opened it. I hope you won't blame me. I carefully took out the letter paper and unfolded it to read. Dear George, if you are reading this letter, perhaps my surprise plan has gone awry. Don't worry, it's just that the plan has changed, and the form of the gift may be different now. The blood amber I picked for you is said to be known as the Eye of Rebirth. Legend has it that looking at the world through it reveals truths that are often overlooked. I hope it can become a turning point in your artistic career, leading you to see new possibilities. All these years, your paintings have always depicted backs, as if you're afraid to face something head-on. I hope this gemstone will give you the courage to paint the front, to capture true emotions. No matter what happens, please remember, love does not disappear, it merely changes form, like this blood amber, which, after millions of years, transforms from resin into a gem, yet still shines. Forever loving you, Mary. The handwriting became a bit messy at the end, as if written in a hurry. I stroked the paper, as if I could feel Mary's emotions at that moment. Thank you, I said, my voice choked with emotion. This means a lot to me. You're welcome. I'm just fulfilling Ms. Nicole's request, Nicole said with a smile. Actually, there's one more thing I'd like to ask your help with. What is it? I'd like to apply for the Mary Scholarship you established, she said, taking a design portfolio out of her bag. This is my graduation project, combining Ms. Nicole's ideas with my own innovations. As I flipped through the portfolio, I was surprised to find that while these designs bore traces of Mary's influence, they also possessed a unique style and innovative touches. In particular, a series called Metamorphosis cleverly combined jewelry with transformable elements, allowing the pieces to change form according to the wearer's mood and occasion. This is outstanding, I praised sincerely. Mary would be proud of you. A hint of joy flashed in Nicole's eyes. Really? I've always worried I couldn't live up to her expectations. You've already moved beyond the learning stage and developed your own style. That's exactly what she hoped to see. As we talked, sunlight streamed through the window and fell on Nicole. In that moment, I seemed to understand something. When Mary spoke of love changing its form, perhaps she wasn't just referring to the blood amber, but also to her passion for art and its legacy. Luna tried to impersonate Mary by mimicking her appearance, but she could never truly replicate who she was. Nicole, on the other hand, looked nothing like Mary, yet she inherited a part of her artistic vision and spirit. Perhaps this is the true gift Mary left me, not the blood amber, but a new possibility, a path out of the past. Nicole's graduation exhibition was held in a small gallery. Though the space was modest, it was exquisitely arranged. Her works were divided into 3 series, representing the past, the present, and the future, forming a complete narrative. This is a brilliant idea, I sincerely praised. From tradition to contemporary and then to the future, it showcases the evolution and possibilities of jewelry design. Nicole smiled and nodded. This was inspired by teacher Nicole. She always says that good design should look back at history, be grounded in the present, and look forward to the future. As I walked through the exhibition hall, I noticed a special display case in the corner, containing only one piece, a seemingly simple ring with a small red gemstone set in the center. This is. I leaned in to read the label, which said, in memory, dedicated to teacher Mary. Yes, I made it from a small piece of blood amber I bought with my own savings, Nicole explained. It can't compare to the quality of yours, but it's also from Myanmar. I examined the design of the ring closely. Clean, powerful lines with fine silver threads encircling the blood amber, as if protecting the central gem, yet also seeming to radiate light outward. This is very similar to Mary's final design style, I said softly, but it also has your own unique touch. I wanted to create a piece that could both commemorate teacher Nicole and showcase my own style, Nicole explained. The blood amber represents her influence, while the outer design is the direction of my own development. The exhibition attracted quite a few industry insiders, including some well-known figures from the jewelry design world. After viewing the exhibition, an older female designer approached Nicole and offered her an internship opportunity. I stood by, genuinely happy for Nicole. In the evening, as the exhibition was drawing to a close, Frank arrived as well. Seeing me with Nicole, he gave me a knowing smile. "New friend?" he asked me quietly. "Mary's student," I explained simply. "Very talented." Frank nodded without asking further questions. After touring the exhibition, he gave high praise to Nicole's work. It blends traditional and modern elements, demonstrating both technical skill and artistic expression, quite rare. Nicole thanked him politely. This wouldn't have been possible without the guidance of teacher Nicole and teacher George. After the exhibition, the three of us went to a nearby restaurant for dinner. During the meal, Frank talked about recent trends in the art market, while Nicole shared her insights on contemporary jewelry design. The conversation was light and pleasant, and I realized it had been a long time since I had relaxed and chatted with others like this. After a few rounds of drinks, Frank received an urgent call and left early. Only Nicole and I remained in the restaurant, and the atmosphere suddenly became a bit quiet. "Mr. George," Nicole hesitated for a moment before speaking. "I've always had a question I wanted to ask you." "What is it?" "After you finished The Pursuit, what are you planning to create next?" The question caught me off guard. To be honest, ever since The Pursuit, I haven't had any new inspiration. That painting seemed to have drained all my emotions and creativity. "I haven't decided yet," I answered honestly. "It might take some time to find a new direction." Nicole nodded thoughtfully. Nicole once said that the hardest thing for an artist isn't creating a stunning masterpiece, but finding a way forward after reaching the peak. She really did say that, I recalled with a smile. Mary always saw further than I did. "Maybe," Nicole said softly, "you could try a new direction that combines your work with jewelry design? Like in The Pursuit, but taking it even further." I recalled what Mary mentioned in her letter about seeing new possibilities, and suddenly I was inspired. "You mean creating a series of works that combine painting and jewelry?" "Exactly," Nicole said excitedly. "Your paintings create emotion in two-dimensional space, while jewelry gives it tangible form in the three-dimensional world. The combination of the two would have an astonishing effect." The more we talked, the more engaged we became, even sketching a few concept designs on the restaurant's napkins. Nicole's ideas were fresh and bold, perfectly aligning with my artistic vision, yet bringing a new perspective. As we left the restaurant, Nicole suddenly said, "I have to confess something." I looked at her in confusion. "I reached out to you not only to deliver Nicole's letter, but also for a personal reason. I hope to learn from you," she said candidly. "I want to become a designer like Nicole, someone who not only creates beautiful works but also perfectly blends art with emotion." Her sincerity moved me. "You're already on that path, and you're doing very well." "Then, may I consult you often?" she asked a little nervously. Of course, I'd be delighted. On the way home, a series of new works already began to take shape in my mind. A cross-disciplinary art that fuses painting and jewelry, both as a tribute to Mary and as a new starting point in my artistic career. That night, I had a dream. In the dream, Mary stood in a halo of blood-red light, smiling at me and saying, "See, I knew you would find a new direction." When I woke up, I got out of bed immediately and began sketching for the new series. I decided to name it Rebirth. Not only representing the ancient life forever preserved in blood amber, but also symbolizing the rebirth of my artistic career, as well as the inheritance and development of Mary's artistic vision. A week later, I submitted a new series proposal to the gallery and received an enthusiastic response. The curator even suggested holding a special exhibition themed Between Dimensions, a dialogue between painting and jewelry. For this project, I invited Nicole to join the team as a jewelry design consultant. She had just graduated from design school and was both excited and nervous about the opportunity. "Am I really up to the task?" she asked me in the studio. "You understand Mary's design philosophy better than anyone," I assured her. "That's exactly what I need." In the days that followed, we worked at a feverish pace. We created during the day and discussed at night, sometimes even working through until dawn. Nicole's ideas flowed endlessly, and I transformed those thoughts into concrete artistic expressions. In the process, I rediscovered the pure joy of creation that I hadn't felt in a long time. One late night, when we finally finished the design for our first piece, Nicole clapped her hands excitedly. "This is amazing. Teacher Nicole will definitely love it." At the mention of Mary, she suddenly realized her slip and looked at me nervously. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." "It's all right," I said with a smile. "I think Mary really would like it. She always hoped I could step out of my comfort zone and try new ways of expressing myself." Nicole let out a sigh of relief, then hesitantly asked, "Professor George, may I ask you a personal question?" "What is it?" "When you faced the woman impersonating Professor Nicole, how did you see through her? I mean, from the news reports, she seemed like an exact copy of Professor Nicole." I pondered for a moment. Superficial resemblance is easy to achieve, but a true personality cannot be duplicated. Mary's perception of art, her attitude toward life, the way she handled details, these were all unique. Just like a work of art, Nicole mused, no matter how perfect a replica is, it can never capture the soul of the original. Exactly. We worked through the night again, and finally established the overall framework for the Rebirth series. 7 pieces, each blending elements of painting and jewelry, together telling a story of loss and recovery, death and rebirth. As our collaboration deepened, my relationship with Nicole gradually shifted from teacher and student to partners, both mentor and friend. Sometimes, when the light traced the gentle contours of her focused profile, I would unconsciously think of Mary. But soon, I realized that this association wasn't due to any physical resemblance, but rather that same dedication and passion for art. "George, you look much more spirited lately," Frank remarked at a gathering. "It's been a while since I've seen you so full of life." "Yeah, the new project has helped me rediscover the joy of creating." "Nicole's a good girl," Frank said meaningfully. "Talented, and she really understands you." I understood his implication, but just smiled without responding. There was indeed a special understanding between Nicole and me, but it was more rooted in our shared passion for art than anything else. At least for now. The creation of the Rebirth series took 3 months, longer than expected, but the results were stunning. Each piece was a perfect fusion of painting and jewelry art, offering both the pleasure of viewing as a flat image and the discovery of 3-dimensional effects brought by the jewelry elements from different angles. A week before the exhibition opened, I received an unexpected visitor, Luna. She had served her sentence and was released early. She looked much more haggard than the last time we met, but her eyes were clearer. "I came to apologize to you in person." She stood at the studio door, her voice low, "for everything I have done." I didn't respond immediately, but simply invited her in to sit down. "I know that an apology can't make up for the loss," she continued, "but I want you to know that I truly regret it." "How is your sister's illness?" I asked. She looked up in surprise. You know. I guessed. "You said you needed money for a reason, and I think that must have been true." "Yes," she nodded. "My sister's surgery was a success, and now she's fully recovered. For the past 3 years, I've been thinking about how to make up for my mistakes, even though I may never be able to." I was silent for a moment, then said, "You know, in a way, your appearance actually helped me." "What do you mean?" "It forced me to confront the past, to re-examine my memories with Mary, and ultimately to find a way forward." I pointed to the sketches of the Rebirth series on the wall and briefly explained this new project. Luna listened quietly, a look of genuine respect in her eyes. "I'm glad you were able to find a new beginning from that nightmare," she said at last. "I hope I can find my own path to rebirth as well." As she left, she handed me a small package. "These are some simple pieces of jewelry I made in prison. The craftsmanship is rough, but each one represents my remorse and blessings. I hope you can accept them." Opening the package, I found several small trinkets handmade from fine wire and colorful glass beads. Though simple, it was clear the creator had poured their heart into them. Nicole happened to come into the studio at that moment. Seeing the trinkets, she asked curiously, "What are these?" I told her about Luna's visit. "You forgave her?" Nicole was a bit surprised. "Not exactly forgiveness," I said thoughtfully. "It's more like understanding. Everyone has their own hardships and choices. What's important is how we learn and grow from our mistakes." Nicole nodded pensively, picking up a piece of jewelry to examine it closely. "The craftsmanship is rough, but the concept is ingenious. This person seems to have a talent for design. Perhaps, I said. Everyone has the possibility of being reborn. On the day of the exhibition opening, numerous figures from the art and jewelry worlds gathered together. The Rebirth series received unprecedented acclaim. Critics called it a model of cross-disciplinary art, and the gallery owner was overjoyed, announcing plans for a nationwide tour. In the crowd, I saw Luna. She was dressed simply, standing quietly in a corner, admiring the exhibits. Our eyes met in the air. She nodded slightly, then walked away. "Who was that?" Nicole asked, standing beside me. "Someone searching for rebirth," I replied. Nicole seemed to understand and asked no more. We stood side by side before the pursuit, watching the blood amber refract a strange light under the lamps, like the silent burning of life's flame. "Thank you," I whispered to Nicole. "Without you, this series might never have come into being." "It was your philosophy that guided us, Teacher Nicole," she replied modestly. I was just fortunate enough to be the messenger. In that moment, I suddenly understood the true meaning of what Mary had written in her letter. Love has changed its form. Love exists not only in memory and longing, but also in inheritance and innovation, shining brightly in every spark of artistic creation. And I, at last, had learned how to begin anew after loss, to embrace rebirth while still searching. The success of the exhibition exceeded everyone's expectations. In just 1 month, the Rebirth series was reported on by major media outlets and even attracted the attention of the international art world. A renowned auction house extended an olive branch to me, hoping to include several pieces in their annual highlight auction. "This is an unprecedented opportunity," Frank said excitedly. "If the deal goes through, you'll become a top player in the contemporary art market." I wasn't particularly concerned with commercial success, but I did feel the joy of having my work widely recognized. More importantly, this series opened up a new artistic path for me, freeing me from the creative shackles of the past 3 years. Nicole benefited as well. As the project's jewelry design consultant, she received high praise from the industry. Several well-known jewelry brands reached out to her, hoping she would join their design teams. "Which offer are you planning to accept?" One night, as we were tidying up the studio together, I asked her. "To be honest, I'm still hesitating." Nicole paused her work. "These are all great opportunities, but what? But I want to keep working with you." She looked straight into my eyes. "Rebirth is just the beginning, isn't it?" Her candor surprised me a little. Indeed, the success of this series had opened up many new creative possibilities for us, but I wasn't sure if I should continue such a close working relationship. "You should consider your own career development," I said tactfully. "These opportunities are very rare for young designers." Nicole seemed to sense my hesitation and nodded gently. "I understand." In the days that followed, we were both busy and rarely had the chance to talk alone. A week later, Nicole told me she had decided to accept an invitation from a French jewelry brand and would be going to Paris to work for 2 years. "Congratulations," I said sincerely. "It's a very good choice." "Thank you," she replied with a smile, though a fleeting, elusive emotion flashed in her eyes. "I think this is the best arrangement for both of us." Before Nicole left, we held a small farewell party. Frank, the curator, and a few mutual friends came. The atmosphere was warm, tinged with a hint of sadness. After a few rounds of drinks, Frank found an opportunity to pull me aside. "Are you really going to just let her go like this?" "What do you mean?" I pretended not to understand. "Don't play dumb, man," Frank said bluntly. "You have feelings for her. That's obvious." "That's just professional rapport," I argued. "Is that so?" Frank looked at me meaningfully. "Then why have you been so distracted ever since she decided to go to France?" I was at a loss for words. In fact, these past few days I had indeed felt an inexplicable sense of loss, but I kept telling myself it was only because I had lost an excellent partner. "I know what you're worried about." Frank lowered his voice. "You feel like you're letting Mary down, don't you?" I remained silent. He had touched upon the deepest concern in my heart. "Mary has been gone for 3 years now." Frank gently patted my shoulder. "She would want you to be happy." After the party ended, I walked Nicole home. The night was tranquil as water, and the city lights flowed around us. "Thank you for your help and guidance these past few months." Nicole stopped at the entrance of her apartment building. "This experience has meant so much to me." "I should be thanking you," I said sincerely. "Without you, the Rebirth series would never have been completed." We fell into silence, as if both searching for the right words to say goodbye. My flight is the morning after tomorrow, Nicole finally said. I still have some things to take care of tomorrow. So, this is probably the last time we'll see each other. 2 years will pass quickly. I tried to make my voice sound light. Paris is a beautiful city. You'll like it there. She nodded, a complex emotion flickering in her eyes. Professor George, there's something I've always wanted to tell you, but never found the right opportunity. What is it? I chose to study jewelry design because I saw Nicole's works. She took a deep breath, or more precisely, because I saw the pieces Nicole designed for you. The way she perfectly fused love and art moved me deeply. I didn't know that, I said in surprise. I've always hoped that one day I could be like Nicole, creating art filled with emotion. Nicole continued, her words coming faster, as if afraid she might lose her courage. But now I realize that what I want even more is to create for a specific person, just like Nicole created for you. I understood her implication, and my heart suddenly began to race. Nicole, please don't respond, she gently interrupted me. I just wanted you to know before I leave. No matter how you feel right now, remember that starting over is not a betrayal of the past, but a way of cherishing life. With that, she rose up on her tiptoes and softly kissed my cheek, then quickly turned and walked into the apartment building, leaving me standing alone in the night, my mind in turmoil. After returning home, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep, replaying Nicole's words and that gentle kiss over and over in my mind. Suddenly, I remembered a small box in the study, where Mary's last complete letter was kept, a letter I had found while sorting through her belongings. But at the time, overwhelmed by grief, I never had the courage to open. Now, I finally mustered the courage to walk into the study and retrieve that delicate little box from the depths of the drawer. Inside lay a pale pink letter, bearing Mary's familiar handwriting. Dearest George, by the time you read this letter, you may find yourself at a crossroads in life, hesitating between moving forward or staying where you are. My greatest wish is that you can move bravely through life, as freely as your brush glides across the canvas. Love is not a shackle, but a liberation. Memory is not a burden, but a source of strength. If one day you meet someone who can rekindle the light in your eyes, please don't hesitate because of your longing for me. True love is wishing happiness for the other, even if there is no longer a place for oneself in that happiness. Remember, the days we loved each other were complete, with no need for regrets. And now, it's time to paint a new picture, my beloved. Forever loving you. Mary. Tears blurred my vision. It was as if Mary had foreseen my current situation and had already given me her blessing. She was always like this, always able to see further and more clearly than I could. At that moment, I made up my mind. Early the next morning, I drove straight to Nicole's apartment. Professor George? Nicole opened the door in surprise, clearly not expecting me. I have something to say to you. I looked her straight in the eyes, not as your teacher, but as George. I handed her Mary's letter. Nicole read it carefully, her expression shifting from surprise to being moved, and finally, her eyes grew moist. She truly was an extraordinary woman, Nicole said softly, handing the letter back to me. Yes, she was, I nodded. That's exactly why I believe her words. Nicole, cancel your plans for Paris. Stay and continue our collaboration, will you? Nicole looked at me in shock. Are you serious? I've never been more serious, I said quietly. Rebirth is not just the name of an artwork, it's a possibility in life. Are you willing to explore that possibility with me? Her answer was a firm embrace, warm and real, like the first ray of sunlight after a long winter. In that moment, I felt as if Mary was somewhere, smiling down on us, blessing this new beginning. Life is like that blood amber, enduring countless ages of change and sedimentation, ultimately transforming into an eternal radiance. And I, at last, understood what true pursuit is, what true rebirth means. A year later, Nicole and I unveiled our second joint project, Interwoven, at the National Art Museum. This series was even bolder and more innovative than Rebirth, blending Eastern and Western aesthetics with various art forms. Critics hailed it as a significant breakthrough in contemporary art. At the opening ceremony, Nicole held my arm as we faced the media interviews and congratulations from the audience together. She wore a simple white dress, and around her neck was the Eye of Rebirth necklace we designed together. She completed the jewelry part based on my painting. Your collaboration seems even more in sync than your last project, a reporter asked with a suggestive smile. Nicole glanced at me, and we exchanged a smile. Yes, both in art and in life, We found the perfect balance. This indirect answer drew a round of good-natured laughter from the reporters present. My relationship with Nicole was no longer a secret, but we always kept a low profile, letting the public's attention remain focused on our artistic creations. After the exhibition, we drove out to a small hill in the countryside. There stood an ancient oak tree, beneath which Mary's ashes were laid to rest. This was the place we chose, rather than a traditional cemetery, natural, peaceful, just like Mary herself. "Mary, the exhibition was a great success today," I said softly to the stone beneath the tree. "Nicole's designs were admired by everyone, just as you once predicted." Nicole crouched down and placed a bouquet of white daisies in front of the stone. "Teacher Nicole, I've been working hard to become the kind of designer you hoped I would be. I hope you can be proud of me." A gentle breeze stirred, and the oak's leaves rustled softly, as if it were Mary's reply. On the way back, Nicole suddenly said, "I've been thinking about something." "What is it?" "If that woman who pretended to be Ms. Nicole hadn't appeared, you might never have found the blood amber, never created the pursuit, and we might never have met." Her words made me fall into deep thought. Indeed, it was the series of events triggered by that deception that ultimately led to everything now. It feels as if, in the unseen, some force has been orchestrating it all. "Perhaps that's the irony of fate," I said softly. "Sometimes, the worst beginnings can lead us to the best endings." When I returned home, I received an unexpected package. Upon opening it, I found a delicate little box containing a handmade ring. Though simple, the craftsmanship had improved greatly compared to the pieces I had seen before. There was a note attached. "Mr. George, thank you for your kindness and understanding a year ago, which gave me the courage to start over. Now I have found a job at a small jewelry shop, and my life is gradually getting back on track. This ring represents my gratitude, and I wish you happiness and well-being on your new path." "Luna," I handed the ring to Nicole. After examining it carefully, she remarked, "Her skills have improved a lot. She truly has talent." "Some mistakes in life shouldn't become permanent scars," I sighed. "Everyone deserves a second chance." That night, we sat in the studio, discussing ideas for the next series. Nicole suddenly proposed a bold idea. I was thinking, maybe we could try connecting the different stages of our work to create a complete narrative. From eternity to quest, then to rebirth, and intertwined, they're actually different phases in a person's life journey. "You mean?" "A complete story about loss, searching, rebirth, and integration," she explained excitedly, ultimately asking what is the most precious treasure in life. "Love." I finished her sentence. "No matter what form it takes." Nicole nodded, her eyes sparkling with creative fire. "We could call it the forms of love, an unprecedented artistic exploration." "Sounds like a long-term, ambitious project." "We have time," she smiled, holding my hand. "We have so much time." In that moment, I felt a powerful surge of creative inspiration, just like when I first began my artistic career years ago, filled with passion and possibility. But this time, I was not facing the blank canvas alone. 2 years later, the Forms of Love series was exhibited simultaneously in the world's 5 greatest art museums, causing an unprecedented sensation. Critics called it a milestone in contemporary art history, blending painting, sculpture, jewelry design, and other art forms to create an entirely new artistic language. The final piece of the exhibition was titled Eternal Ring, a massive circular canvas depicting every form of love in life, familial, platonic, romantic, and the love for art itself. The edge of the canvas was inlaid with gemstones of various sizes, and under certain lighting, these gems would cast light onto specific parts of the canvas, revealing another hidden layer of patterns. The centerpiece of this work is a massive blood amber. Through intricate optical design, the light it projects perfectly outlines 2 embracing figures. One is Mary, the other is Nicole, symbolizing the intersection of past and present, the fusion of memory and rebirth. On the closing day of the exhibition, in front of the Eternal Ring, I knelt on one knee and proposed to Nicole. The ring was crafted from the very blood amber Mary had once prepared for me, designed by my own hand and fashioned by the finest jeweler. "This ring carries the memories of the past and the hopes for the future," I whispered softly. "Nicole, will you be the eternal ring in my life?" Her tears sparkled under the spotlight. "I will." Amidst the cheers, I remembered what Mary once said: "Love does not disappear, it merely changes its form." Yes, love does not disappear. It exists in memories, in art, in every rebirth and new beginning. It traverses time and crosses space, like that blood amber which, after millions of years, still shines, forever retaining the original warmth and brilliance of life. This is the answer I have been searching for all along. Between loss and gain, between seeking and rebirth, love remains constant, only appearing in different forms along the journey of life. And all we need to do is bravely accept this gift, no matter how it comes to us. On the day of the wedding, the sky was a clear, washed blue. Beneath the ancient oak tree that had watched over Mary, we exchanged our vows. A gentle breeze stirred, making the leaves whisper as if blessings were drifting in from another world. "No matter when or where," Nicole said softly, "we'll always remember that it was she who brought us together." "Yes," I squeezed her hand, "and we will always cherish this gift." In the brilliant sunlight, the blood amber ring gleamed, radiant as life itself, enduring the passage of time, yet still shining bright.